Contrary to my previous beliefs, Marvel Rivals is not doing the best. Negative sentiment around the game seems to be growing in the community, and I have a couple of thoughts as to why. Now, I initially thought that this wouldn't happen, especially because of the animosity that people already had for Overwatch and Marvel Rivals seeing extreme success partially because of that. Even while holding these beliefs, I've always maintained that Marvel Rivals has issues that I don't like. So let's talk about some of them. The largest issue, in my opinion, that Rivals is having is the fact that it's not learning from the problems that Overwatch had to face in its early existence. For example, the hero balance in Marvel Rivals is abysmal. A lot of the heroes in the game are unfun to play against. Squirrel Girl and Moon Knight, while not being the best, are extremely annoying to play against. And currently, the Loki and Luna meta is extremely annoying. Back-to-back Luna ults is unbearable at times. This combination leads to a period of about 20 seconds where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to kill people on the enemy team. Zenyatta has a comparable ultimate in Overwatch to Luna Snow, except his ultimate heals less per second and only lasts for about 6 seconds. Maybe more pressing, in my opinion, is the lack of role queue. And I know people say they hate the idea of role queue, and the devs have said that they will never implement it, but this game desperately needs it. It feels like in every game that I load into, my teammates pick whatever they want to play and leave everyone else to try to make a cohesive team. When Overwatch didn't have role queue, being a flex player just meant you were playing support. It means the same thing in Marvel Rivals. Just like Overwatch, most of the characters are DPS characters, so tank and support have very few options by comparison, and a lot of those options are just boring or require very specific team compositions to be viable. Now, to be fair, a lot of games require extreme coordination, especially in hero shooters. Unlike games like Counter-Strike and Valorant, where one player could theoretically kill every single player on the opposing team every single round and never have to deal with their teammates or how bad they might be, that is extremely unrealistic in Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. Now, it could be my region or the time of day I play at, but oftentimes I find that people on my team aren't necessarily willing to work with me. Some of them would rather go 1-11 on Psylocke and Magic after complaining about how bad the rest of the team was. Now, even without role queue, the Marvel Rivals team could be doing a lot better of a job pushing out more comprehensive balance patches. I believe that the largest source of dissatisfaction with the game comes from the lack of balance, which is why I believe the player count continues to drop. And while these balance changes come too slow, they constantly release Gunnar skins. And I know that the guys who balance the game aren't the same ones that make the skins, but it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, similar to how Destiny might release the worst update you've ever seen in your entire life with no content, but you can almost guarantee that the Eververse store will have several new bundles and new skins to buy. Outside of the balance issues, this game just lacks technical polish. The polish that Overwatch has had time to develop over the better part of a decade. For me specifically, the game doesn't run well all of the time and has to compile shaders every single time I launch the game. The game feels like it relies heavily on DLSS and similar features to make up for the lack of optimization, and it leads to my gameplay experience just feeling strange. There's not really a way I could better describe that, but if your experience is similar to mine, you have an idea of what I'm talking about. And I'm sure Overwatch would have been the same if it didn't release before DLSS and similar programs were widely adopted. Not just on the technical side, but the actual gameplay lacks polish as well. The best way I can describe it is all of the worst parts of Overwatch, but even more annoying. There are extremely transformative skins in a game filled to the brim with oversaturated and abrasive visual effects that make it significantly more difficult to tell what's going on. It's overstimulating in a way that's just annoying to me. There should be an option to disable cosmetics client side, at the very least in competitive. Also, a lot of the characters' kits feels like they were haphazardly assembled and are extremely clunky as a result. And in that same vein, a lot of the animations in the game are extremely stiff, and to be fair, I believe that a lot of these issues are simply caused by the amount of content they put out and the frequency of which they do it. Now, even after all of that complaining, I still do enjoy Marvel Rivals, and I hope the game does well. I desperately want Marvel Rivals to do well. It needs to remain a genuine competitor to Overwatch. It cannot become the next Battleborn or Paladins, because if that happens, Blizzard will have very little to no reason to make significant significant improvements. Thankfully, I don't think Marvel Rivals will die simply because the gameplay isn't the worst and it's basically the only real hero shooter, comic book heroes I mean. There are a lot of things that need to be improved about this game, and truthfully, I don't know where the devs should start, but I'll give you my opinion anyway. First, it's okay to release character skins with characters wearing clothes. Second, make balance changes more frequently and maybe rework this terrible ban system. Third, put a bit more polish on the game both technically and gameplay wise. Quick addendum. People also mention EOMM, which I believe stands for Engagement Optimized Matchmaking. It's a matchmaking style that tries to retain as much player engagement as possible instead of creating fair matches. For example, if this algorithm thinks that you will quit after 3 losses in a row, the game presumably will try to keep you engaged by putting you up against teams that you are favored to win against before you hit that 3rd loss. Now, there are more aggressive versions of this system where they will try to reduce risk based on a more complex set of data, including your recent performance, your assessed quitting point, and sometimes even your purchase history to adjust the difficulty of your next couple of matches. NetEase, the publisher, has denied that they use this, but despite that, people still complain about it all the time, meaning they don't believe NetEase. Obviously. This could just mean that players want a reworked matchmaking system, which I wouldn't be opposed to. Also, if you're interested in reading, some EA employees wrote a research paper about this topic back in 2017. It will be linked in the description and pinned comment of this video. And if you're on the Marvel Rivals dev team, you could listen to what your community is telling you, or alternatively, disregard everything I've said in this entire video and just remove Jeff from the game and we can call it even. Fuck Jeff players.